Wherefore, Series 3, Episode 49. We've got almost all the way through 3 series of Wherefore without me really getting into local politics. Stroud is a marginal seat, and while its politically disparate population gets along well enough most of the time, this isn't true around general elections. We can do any amount of local voting and still be nice to each other, perhaps not least because, as is true of most places, a lot of people take no interest whatsoever in local politics. Given a general election, numerous people who spend most of their time making no contributions to politics whatsoever emerge and make noise. They don't make a useful noise. They aren't out there trying to get young people registered to vote or getting non-voters to vote. The sum and total of their political activism is to spend the 2 weeks before an election making anyone they know utterly miserable, and the day or two after an election treating the outcome like it was a sports match where the most important thing is to have backed the winning team. You find them in every political party, and they are decidedly unhelpful. Mostly I stay out of politics because it's depressing and I want to tell you funny stories. But there is one, and it pertains to the local MP. Now, the key thing to know about the local MP is that they are not from round here. They only moved in after getting elected, and they don't really know how Stroud works, or who voted for them, or why. They have a lot to figure out, and they do try sometimes. Bless them. Which brings us to the issue of the new funding scheme. The Marginal Constituency Bribe Scheme is a new innovation from Westminster to help constituencies who only just managed to elect the right person see their way to giving that person a bigger majority next time. The local MP announces on social media that funding from the Marginal Constituency Bribe Scheme has already helped the weekly market and the community fair. This causes some confusion. Stroud has a Saturday farmers market and also had Wednesday markets, Sunday markets, Christmas markets. Is the weekly market a new market? A revived previous market, or does the MP just not know what's happening? And then there's the question of the community fair, which probably doesn't exist. Stroud has a lot of ongoing issues around things that might or might not exist, so a community fair that no one knows about would fit in neatly alongside Painswick and Ditchley Yat, whose existence also remains uncertain to many local people. It would be fair to say that the wizards who run Stroud have long-standing relationships with local politics. Local politics work in decidedly Stroudish ways, and there's always room for a bit of wizard scheming, a bit of wizard thwarting. It's all very cosy. The business of sending a person to Westminster tends to make the local wizards cranky. It doesn't help that the current MP isn't from round here, and seems impervious to all things that are not the party line. Although there has been a lovely moment of rebellion around the idea that maybe we could forego filling our local waterways with unprocessed excrement. Stroud is a popular place for wild swimming, and cholera is not a good look for a constituency. Inspired by the community fair, the wizards start applying for funding for events that do not currently exist. They do this independently of each other in one of those strange acts of convergent thinking that happen sometimes. Winklepicker takes the most direct route by applying for funding for the community fair and mentioning in her application how pleased she was to see the MP specifically referring to this important local event. Given that Winklepicker is a trustee for just about everything, and if she isn't already on a committee, has a supernatural skill for convincing people that she is, making an actual community fair will not be hard for her should the funding manifest. Whitminster wants funding for all of the local markets, real, imagined, historical, and so forth. The quiet wizard starts emailing his extensive contact list to gently poke people towards thinking they should apply for funding for projects they had been pondering about. He takes a number of them out for coffee, and by the end of the week has persuaded 4 people to seek funding and push ahead with projects they'd only been talking about. All of them think this is entirely their own idea. They always do. He's quiet like that. And I'm probably the only person who has any idea what he gets up to. Wambleforth wants more investment in the local canal for obvious personal reasons, and also because this seems the best way to stop fairies taking over bits of it and messing about unreasonably with the length of the towpath in the vicinity of the brewery. The wizard William does a lot of scheming, but it all gets far too involved for something as simple as a grant application. The wizard Tim hates paperwork, but thanks to Winklepicker's best efforts to motivate him, he makes a bid to fund an event celebrating prehistoric Stroud and all things Ice Age. Wigston is the wizard who goes furthest with all of this. He suggests reviving the traditional Frampton eel tickling day and the old tradition of rolling burning barrels of tar down High Street. Wigston also wants to make something bigger out of miniature cheese rolling, although obviously not too much bigger or it wouldn't quite work. Not only does he apply for the grant, but he also writes a lengthy letter to the MP detailing the various historical events he thinks Stroud should reinstate, along with his plans for Stroud Elasmatherium Day, Stroud Elder God Day, and Stroud Festival of the Cheesy Snacks. Unfortunately, due to having included a live shrew in the package, very little of Wigston's thinking makes it intact through the door, and none of it is read by the MP. No one has told the MP about singing shrews, and this one is especially vocal and compromises constituency work for several days before being surprised by a recording of itself and dying suddenly of shock. Some of us keep telling Wigston not to involve shrews in his correspondence, but for whatever reasons, he often does.